Malik Willis and the Miami Dolphins have reached an agreement.
Malik Willis leads the Miami Dolphins into a new era after signing a 3-year, $67.5 million contract this offseason, with 45 of that guaranteed. He joins an offense with little to no playmakers outside of Devon Achane and a subpar offensive line after just 6 career starts. Not to mention, his new offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick flamed out in Houston after just 2 seasons. But one start in 2025 was enough to convince the new Dolphins brass, head coach Jeff Hafley and general manager John Eric Sullivan, both of whom Willis was with in Green Bay, that he could elevate a rebuilding Miami team to its first playoff win since 2000. The Dolphins are asking a ton of Willis, but was he that good against Baltimore that it's warranted? Let's find the answers in his tape. In Week 17 last season, Willis replaced an injured Jordan Love and completed 85% of his passes for 288 yards and a touchdown. He also added 60 yards and 2 more scores on the ground. But having rewatched that game and one of his starts from the previous season, it's pretty clear that Packers head coach Matt LaFleur dumbed down the offensive game plan to alleviate the decision-making process on his backup quarterback. Take a look at his passing chart against Baltimore, and you can see that Willis rarely threw over the middle of the field, and most of his passes were to his first read outside the numbers. Both he and LaFleur took advantage of deep out and comeback routes against the Ravens off coverage. Credit to Willis for consistently hitting these throws, something he couldn't do in Tennessee, and for understanding where to attack the defense, but let's be honest, he's not solving quantum mechanics here. The former third-round pick is talented, but isn't very polished at quarterbacking, and therein lies the problem. Willis has a good arm, and it was on display during his 3 starts for the Packers. On his first pass of the game against Baltimore, he dropped one in the bucket for Romeo Doubs. But taking a step back, Willis just needed to confirm that it was one-on-one coverage to the backside of the play and then give his receiver a shot. The Ravens' one high safety cheats to the passing strength, which leaves Doubs alone against Nate Wiggins, and it turns into an explosive gain for Green Bay. Great throw, but pretty simple read. Now, to his credit, he did have some flashes of being both a good improviser, which isn't shocking because of his scrambling ability, and a solid processor. But neither trait showed up all that consistently. His best play of the game was on the Packers' opening drive, and it looks like Baltimore is sending pressure. As you can see, there are 5 defenders on the line of scrimmage with man coverage in the back. Safety Alohi Gilman even has his hips turned to the middle of the field, which would indicate he's playing in the deep post in a single high look. However, there is a tell that it's zone coverage because Nate Wiggins, a corner, is lined up against Chris Brooks, a running back, and teams typically don't waste a corner in man coverage against a running back. That role is reserved for linebackers. Meanwhile, Green Bay is running 4 verticals, which happens to be the perfect play call against Tampa 2, which is what Baltimore rolls into after the snap. Willis recognizes the switch and reads Roquan Smith, the Ravens' middle linebacker, open up to cover the Packers' tight end in the deep middle of the field. So Willis flips his eyes to Christian Watson, who breaks his route inside to cross the face of Malachi Starks and slings it on the money for a 39-yard score. If he can play with this level of processing in Miami, then he does have a chance to succeed. But it isn't all good for Willis, and like I mentioned, he benefited from a lot of first read throws in his game, which served as his comfort zone, and there were times you could see he wasn't comfortable or would default to using his legs when his first or even second reads weren't available. He's also had the tendency to take bad sacks throughout his short NFL career. His ability to escape pressure has made him arrogant, and far too often he's tried to extend a dead play far too long, which has led to him losing a ton of unnecessary yardage, and believe me, this Dolphins offense cannot afford to shoot itself in the foot if they want to succeed in 2026. In Miami, he won't have the luxury of playing behind a talented offensive group and with a genius offensive play caller in Matt LaFleur. The situation is very different from Sam Darnold signing in Minnesota and Seattle. And it's even different from Daniel Jones signing in Indy, where he enjoyed early success and it's turned into a pricey extension. To me, the bigger question is this. Are rebuilding NFL teams better off taking a chance on a talented QB with plenty of question marks, or should they embrace a few rough seasons to put themselves in a position to potentially draft their next franchise quarterback, even if there's no guarantees they take the right guy. If you ask Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, I'll bet he wants Miami to snap that playoff victory drought ASAP. But does their general manager think that signing Willis gives them the best chance at long-term success? And do their fans also believe that? Having watched his tape, I could argue that Willis has the tools to replicate what he did in Green Bay if put in the right situation. But with Miami having traded their best healthy wide receiver this offseason, which leaves Tutu Atwell, Malik Washington, and Jalen Tolbert as their starting pass catchers, I don't think they're even going to get a fair evaluation on Willis, and his talent may win them enough games to push them outside of drafting Arch Manning or Dante Moore. If it were me, I would have embraced the tank in Miami and understood that it's going to take time to build a consistent winner, and the Willis move is totally the opposite of that. But patience is wearing thin in South Beach as they approach season number 26 without a playoff victory.